Hi there, welcome back. Dell XPS Desktop 2025 should have been or could have been, but Dell marketing team decided to go somewhere none of us asked them to go to. They grabbed all these most iconic lines what we've been using for years and decades. Inspiron, Vostro, Optiplex, Precision Workstation, and XPS, grabbed them and threw it out of the window and came up with words or a combination of words: Pro, Slim, Premium, Max, Ultra, Tower, and this is what we have here. This would be a Dell Premium Tower EBT2250. Let me tell you right off the bat that this is hands down the best Dell XPS Desktop what we ever seen. The first tool, which says low, it measures a sound level or noise level, and it keeps turning itself off because there is not enough sound to measure. The second one is my electrical flow meter. What you're going to see in here is 9 and 11 watts. This is what the whole entire PC consumes when we are idling in Windows. And this PC has an Intel Ultra 7 265K CPU. Now, that being said, the reason why it has a K CPU is because if you don't get a K CPU at the time of the purchase, you're going to miss out on things. The first thing what you're going to get is a Dell standard air cooler. Yes, this is the same thing what we reviewed in 2024. A lot of you call this a laughingstock or a joke. This is definitely not a joke. This is what's inside this PC right now. And look at the size and look at the shape of this cooler. If you get a K CPU like I did, two things will happen. First of all, this standard air cooler will be upgraded to this advanced or premium or tower cooler and has copper cores, copper cold plate, but look at the shape of the cold plate. Look at the size of it. I left the thermal grease on it so you can see that this is covering the whole entire surface of the CPU while this one is not. It's just only partially covering it. The crazy thing is that this thing works. Not only works, but it's super quiet as long as you're not pushing the CPU to all its cores to its absolute max. When this thing is reaching about 80% of all the 20 cores what we have here, this thing starts screaming and begs for mercy. I'm going to show it to you in a minute, but there is something else is also happening why I'm telling you to get the K CPU. When you get the K CPU, your 460 watt power supply, basic power supply, will be upgraded to 750 watt. And most of the case, you're not going to need it, but there are some times when we are maxing out the 460 watt power supplies with dedicated graphics cards. So let me show you what happens when we're pushing this CPU to 100% utilization with a multi-core environment. I'm going to use Cinebench just to demonstrate. I'm also going to use the Intel XTU just to see when thermal throttling going to start happening with this small cooler. Pay attention to this line, thermal throttling. Now, when you game and when you're using the integrated graphics card or an add-on card, this cooler holds up. It is quiet. Also, I want you to pay attention to our power consumption because once we're going to pushing this CPU to its max, I want you to see the numbers. Let me bring up the XTU and watch this thermal throttling and see how many seconds we're going to just take to get there. The flow meter shows 230, 240 watts at this point. Thermal throttling introduced in about 17 seconds. The package, the CPU, is reaching 105 Celsius at the moment with 99% utilization. And here's our cooler. So this thing will be thermal throttled. The temperature now is dropping to a 104 to 101 level, 97, but then back to 105. So the thermal throttling will never go away. 220, 230 watts. I'm gonna shut it down. There is no reason to torture this any longer. if you have this PC already and if you are pushing applications to their absolute max and this thing is loud, you can still purchase this tower cooler after the purchase. It's about $65-ish. You can get it from Dell or from Amazon, from eBay. It will definitely make your system go extremely quiet, technically noiseless. It almost sounds like there is not even a fan running into these PCs. So last year in a 2024 model, Dell was offering a small pump, this 125 watt system. And this still fits and you can still make this work. However, the pump connector on a motherboard in 2005, Dell decided to cut it off. It's there, it's marked and tagged, but the pins are cut off from the circuit board. Now what happens if you plug this pump connector into the regular fan connector? It works fine. I haven't run into any issues. Not only that, but this just made me more brave and ended up going with this. They're gonna hate this. For about $100, you can get this 240mm system and install it in a thermals. Even when you do the same torture test, I think from about 100 Celsius gonna drop down to 60. And there is absolutely no noise. There's gonna be a little bit of pump sound, but do this at your own risk. There is gonna be a separate video when we're gonna compare all these 4 options regards of noise, temperature and performance. So this is going to be part 1, there's going to be a part 2, and there's going to be a part 3 when we're going to compare different graphics cards in this very same PC. So let me move this out of the way and let's talk about the power supply for one more quick second. So as you can see with the Ultra 7 265K CPU, we can get to 230, 240 watt of power consumption. If you put an RTX 4060, that's probably gonna real life max, gonna be somewhere between 100 and 150 watt. If you are going to use something like a 5070 or something like that, this is 250 watts technically all the time, as long as you're gaming or doing something which requires this card to be running and not relying on the integrated graphics chip, which is actually pretty good. So 250, 230, that's 470 right off the bat. I would not push my power supply. Not only that, but some of you reached out to me under a different topic and complaining about the CPU usage periodically going up to 100% while games are loading. You're not gaming, just loading the game, and that happens technically with this Unite game as well. I have a recording when the CPU is 100%, the graphics card is 100%, this thing is over 500 watt and the game is just loading. As soon as we are in a game, it's going to drop down to 300 watts. So I suggest to get a larger power supply, the 750 or a 1000 at the time of the purchase. After the purchase, it's going to be extremely difficult to get something from there, and it's going to be super expensive. If you look at eBay looking for an open box item or a used power supply, it's still going to be brutally expensive. So my suggestion is get the K CPU, because that will bump up your power supply from 460 watt to 750, and also will get you this big super nice tower cooler. And third-party coolers, I tried so many of them last year. Either they don't fit or they don't give you any performance or temperature benefits at all. So just stick with a tower cooler, or if you want to venture into, get the big 240mm liquid cooling system. Let me shut this PC down. Let's go through the ports and let's go through the components and see what else is there. One of the most valuable thing what you're going to be able to get out of this video is a RAM and RAM upgrade. So let's talk about the RAM while this thing is shutting down. In 2025, these are coming with DDR5 5600 RAMs, and the configuration by default is 2 8GB stick, 16 gigs combined. A lot of you think it's a really good option instead of going with one 16 gig single stick, because you're gonna get dual channel. With DDR5, there is no thing as dual channel anymore. This 64-bit single slot is divided to two 32-bit portion, so a single stick now is dual channel. If you have two of these, Now you have something called quad channel, but don't get too excited because there is no performance difference. If I have one stick versus two sticks, the performance is not really increasing. If you have more RAM, that's what's the silver bullet for these new ultra CPUs, especially if you're relying on a graphics card. Adding more and more RAM will give you more and more portion from your system RAM to your integrated graphic chip. There's going to be more shared RAM, and then the performance jumps. If I looking at games and looking at benchmarks with 16 gigs of RAM or 8 gigs of RAM and adding 64 gig or 32 gig, the performance can jump somewhere between 10% to close to 50 or 80%, depends on what application or what games are running, but 30% almost all across the board. We can go with the integrated graphics card to a game that's not really playable to 30, 40, 45 FPS, all solid, butter smooth. So where the money should go is to the power supply, to the cooling, and add more RAM as much as you can. When you're looking at Dell.com with all these tariffs and all the changes in policies regards of bringing stuff in to the United States, really messed up the pricing. I have to praise and I have to give credit to Dell. This is not a sponsored channel and not a sponsored video. I'm watching how the price changed or not actually changed until this very moment, and Dell kept everything low and there was no price gouging or any of that. And I really appreciate that, because this is what I do. I do IT for business customers, and it's getting tough. The inventory is shrinking, the price is going up because of the previous tariffs what we have. And again, thank you, Dell, to keep us at the low cost as long as you could. Now when I'm looking at Dell and looking at pricing, 64 gigs of RAM for these machines are I think $450. Adding a 4 terabyte drive, it's almost $700. Well, Dell is very good to introduce a low pricing point on all the desktops and laptops when you can purchase and you can do your own upgrade. Like going to 64 gigs will cost maybe $200 or $170, $180 with this crucial RAM. And this is the only kit what I found to run in 5600. If you buy anything, even a more expensive RAM with more features, higher speed like 6000, they will be downclocked to 4800 because the motherboard can't figure it out or can't really do anything with it. This kit will get you to 5600, and you can go up as high as 128 gig unofficially, I believe. We have users who confirmed with this 2025 model that they were able to go up to 96 gig. I know Dell says 64. We got 2 slots. Last year, a lot of you confirmed that 128 gig was doable with the last year model. I put my money on a bet that this is also going to 128 gig. And if you don't have $700 to get a 4 terabyte drive, get something like a Western Digital Black or a Samsung 990 Pro or anything above. It will give you great performance with a much lower cost. We have 2 slots in this PC, 2280 M2, and there's a lot of options. I think you can add 3 SATA drives, but let's take the side cover off and let's see what we have here. So first of all, nothing changed regards of last year. If you're looking at the front bezel, we have our card reader. I think this might be a combo jack when you can plug a headphone and a mic combination into it. These are USB ports, and this is a USB Thunderbolt or USB-C ports. Nothing changed on the front bezel, but the back side I can definitely see changes. So what do we have here? As you can see, just going from the top towards to the bottom, the audio ports in and outs are definitely get cut down. For some reason, we lost all the extra channels in here, and we have a digital output, which I haven't seen. I'm overseeing probably 1500 of these computers every day, not a whole lot of XPS. Best part of the XPS is how extremely reliable they are. Once I pull off the side cover, you're going to see that everything is business class and business graded components. They can and will last 8 to 10 years without the glitch. So if you are speccing these out from the get-go, again, get a better CPU cooler and get a better power supply. as you can see, we have two more extra USB ports in here. We have an HDMI out, which is 4K, and also this USB-C or Thunderbolt port is also works as a display port. So by default, without adding any extra graphics cards, you can have two 4K ports ready to go right of the beginning. And we have our hardwired connection, and we have Wi-Fi 7. Opening the side panel, this side panel off, it's easy. All you have to do is unloose this screw and then pull this out, which will push the side cover off on the top. You have to lift it away from the bottom and then the side cover off, and take a look at this. Take a look at this PC, how nice and clean looks this inside, and how easy to work as a tech on this. So first of all, a lot of you pointed out that the problem is this Dell power supply. It is only a Dell product, nothing else will fit in, nothing else will work here, and the connections going to the circuit boards makes it impossible to replace it. Well, I have to tell you, in my past 16 years of experience with Dell desktops, I have not replaced a single power supply due to a failure, unless it was over 6 to 8 years. Customers are bringing these old XPS desktops in after 8 or 10 years, and they just asking for more storage or more RAM. It's unbelievable. When we tell them that the PC is 10 years old, they said like, oh, I thought it's only 3 or 4 or maybe 5 years old, worst case scenario, because it still runs great. So they just go to the next XPS. I absolutely love these machines. And let's get through the components. Everything has a blue line or blue dot. It means it's designed to be removed easily. Like for example, all you have to do is slam your video card, lock it down, you're good to go. This is the support for the add-on graphics card. It slides out. This is how wide your graphics card can be. Do not take this out. When you install your graphics card, make sure you put this back so the graphics card will not be damaged by dangling down or breaking at the slot. So let's talk about slot. We have one Gen 5 16-lane slot in here, and the problem is, as soon as you install a 50, 70 or anything above, I think a 40, 60, these will cover these slots in here. I think Dell is at the point when it should increase the height of this PC, maybe just about an inch, and then we could have access to these ports. Like somebody pointed out that the audio system is significantly weaker or lower quality than the previous model. I disagree. I haven't had any problem, but last year when we had a 4060 card, I could still install my audio card in it. It was still enough space. We're gonna get into that in the next video, see if it's even possible. But if you have anything like a 5000 series, it's not gonna fit. So this is a custom card. You really have to be careful to see what you have in here regards of space. The cards with 3 fans has like a short limit how far you can get into. Now obviously this can be removed and then you can have some extra space, but you really have to be careful how you support your video card and make sure they don't gonna break off. Not only that, but the power supply limitation. So as you can see, everything is business class. What you have here is coming off from the power supply. We got 2 cables. They start with a 6-pin and then they're gonna get converted over to 8 pins. They were great. This is our Wi-Fi. This is our solid state, the 2M2 right here, 2280. We have 2 slots of RAM. Again, you can go up to 128 if you need to. We have 2 3.5 drive in here if you put regular hard drive in it. In the last year model, what I find out is annoying that since they are high up in here, when they rev up and spinning, they were shaking the case a little bit instead of being down, but we can't put it down because this heavy component, the power supply, is on the bottom, so there is not really a whole lot of space to put drives in it. I'm no longer using them. You can put a reducer into these plastic brackets and put 2.5 solid state in them if you want to. Everything is removable easily. You have 1 screw in here, then you can press this button, this whole thing comes out. That's all good. And then taking the front bezel off or front panel off, it's easy. You just have to carefully push this and then the whole entire front bezel just comes out, especially if I have more space to work with. And then this is where the 240mm cooling system will go. That's going to be a separate video, as I promised. And yeah, there are things which been cut it off from the circuit board. I guess maybe this is the same motherboard for the Alienware. I doubt it. Like, I am seeing this on a new Dell business class line, but pins are cut off, and I was thinking maybe the higher end model will have those features. The higher end model motherboard is completely different. So go figure. Thank you so much for your time. This is the time when you can put all your questions in a comment section, and in the very next video I will answer it. I will answer it in writing. But if you want to see components getting installed, you have questions regards of upgrades, there is going to be 2 more video on this very same PC. Please let me know in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end, and if you could hit the subscribe button, I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. See you in the next video. Scott's out.